Sean was jolted awake from his cryo-sleep. Warning lights flashed across the control panel as the ship plummeted through an unknown planet's atmosphere. His heart raced as he frantically tried to regain control, but it was too late. With a bone-jarring crash, the vessel slammed into the planet's surface. Dazed and aching, Sean fumbled with his harness and stumbled out of the smoking wreckage. He blinked against the harsh sunlight, trying to make sense of his surroundings. Lush purple vegetation stretched as far as the eye could see, punctuated by towering crystalline structures that glimmered on the horizon. "Where the hell am I?" Sean muttered, checking his wrist computer. The navigation system was fried, offering no clues to his location. As he contemplated his next move, a low hum filled the air. Sean's jaw dropped as a sleek, iridescent craft descended from the sky, touching down gracefully nearby. The ship's hatch opened to reveal a striking blue-skinned woman with curves that defied belief. Sean's eyes widened as she sauntered toward him, her hips swaying hypnotically. "Welcome to Nebus, Earthman," she purred, her voice like silk. "I'm Captain Zara of the Planetary Guard. We detected your crash and came to investigate." Sean struggled to find his voice, captivated by her otherworldly beauty. I'm Sean. My ship malfunctioned, and I'm not sure where I am." Zara's lips curved into a predatory smile. "Well, Sean, you're about to experience a whole new world. Come with me, and we'll get you settled." Still reeling from the crash and this surreal encounter, Sean followed Zara into her ship. As they flew toward the glittering city, he couldn't help but notice how the female crew members barked orders at their male counterparts, who scurried to obey. "Is this normal here?" Sean asked, gesturing to the ship's dynamics. Zara arched an eyebrow. "Of course. Women are the natural leaders on Nebus. Don't tell me it's different on your primitive planet." Sean bristled at her condescending tone. "Earth isn't primitive. We just have different customs." The captain's laughter rang out, sending shivers down Sean's spine. "Oh, you're going to be fun, Earthman. I can't wait to see how you adapt to our ways." As they disembarked in the heart of the city, Sean's head spun. Towering buildings of crystal and metal stretched toward the sky, while vehicles zipped by on invisible air currents. But what truly caught his attention were the people, blue-skinned like Zara, with the women cutting imposing figures in tailored suits and uniforms while the men wore flowing, delicate garments. Zara led Sean to a massive building adorned with pulsating lights. "This is the Interstellar Visitors Center. You'll be staying here until we decide what to do with you." Sean bristled at her words. "What do you mean, do with me? I'm not some stray animal." The captain's eyes glinted dangerously. "Watch your tone, Earthman. You're in our world now, and you'd do well to remember that." Before Sean could retort, a bubbly voice called out, "Oh my stars! Is that the new arrival?" A petite blue woman bounced up to them, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Unlike Zara's intimidating presence, this woman exuded warmth and enthusiasm. "Hi there. I'm Tina, the liaison for off-world visitors. I'll be showing you to your quarters and helping you settle in," she chirped, beaming at Sean. Zara rolled her eyes. "Try not to corrupt this one too quickly, Tina. I want to study him first." As the captain strode away, Tina linked her arm through Sean's, sending a jolt of electricity through his body. "Don't mind her," Tina whispered conspiratorially. "She's all bark and no bite." "Well, mostly no bite." Sean couldn't help but chuckle, feeling some of the tension leave his body. "I'm Sean. Thanks for the rescue." Tina's musical laughter filled the air. "Oh honey, the rescue is just beginning. You have no idea what you're in for here on Nebus." As they entered the building, Sean's senses were assaulted by a riot of colors and sounds. Aliens of various species milled about, but the gender dynamics he'd noticed earlier seemed consistent across the board. Tina guided him to an elevator, pressing her hand against a glowing panel. "So, Sean, what do you think of our little corner of the galaxy so far?" Sean hesitated, not wanting to offend. "It's different, impressive technology, but the social structure is unlike anything I've seen." Tina's eyes twinkled mischievously. "You mean how the women are in charge? Trust me, sugar, you'll learn to love it. Most off-worlders do eventually." The elevator deposited them on a high floor, and Tina led Sean down a hallway lined with shimmering doors. She stopped at one, waving her hand to open it. "Here we are, Home sweet home, at least for now. I'm right next door if you need anything, she said with a wink that made Sean's heart skip a beat. The room was spacious and modern, with a large window offering a breathtaking view of the alien cityscape. Sean whistled appreciatively. This is nicer than my apartment back on Earth. Tina flopped onto the plush bed, patting the space beside her. Come on, sit. Tell me all about this Earth of yours. I bet it's fascinating. Sean hesitated, acutely aware of how forward Tina was being. On Earth, he was used to being the pursuer, not the pursued. But something about her infectious energy drew him in, and he found himself sitting beside her. Well, for starters, our gender roles are pretty much the opposite of what I've seen here, Sean began. Tina's eyes widened in mock horror. You mean the men are in charge? How dreadful! However do you get anything done? Sean laughed despite himself. We manage. But I have to ask, is everyone here as forward as you? Tina trailed a finger along Sean's arm, sending shivers down his spine. Only with the cute ones, she purred. And you, my Earthman, are definitely cute. Sean felt his face flush, a mix of flattery and discomfort warring within him. Thanks. This is all just a lot to take in. Tina's expression softened. I know, honey. Culture shock is rough, but don't worry. I'll help you navigate our world, starting with dinner tonight. I know the best place in the city for off-world cuisine. Before Sean could respond, a chime sounded, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. Captain Zara's stern face materialized. Earthman, your presence is required for debriefing and medical examination. Report to the Planetary Guard headquarters immediately, she barked. Tina rolled her eyes. Always work with that one. Don't worry. I'll escort you there and make sure she doesn't bite too hard. As they left the room, Sean's mind raced. He'd come to space-seeking adventure, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. The familiar gender dynamics he'd grown up with had been completely upended, and he found himself both intrigued and unsettled by the attention he was receiving. The Planetary Guard headquarters was an imposing structure of gleaming metal and pulsating energy fields. As they entered, Sean noticed the stark contrast between the efficient, uniformed women and the subservient male staff. Captain Zara waited for them in a sterile examination room, flanked by two other blue-skinned women. Earthman, step forward, Zara commanded, her tone leaving no room for argument. Sean swallowed hard, stepping closer to the examination table, feeling the weight of her gaze. You will undergo a standard medical examination to ensure you are fit for our environment. Sean nodded, trying to mask his anxiety. Okay, let's get it over with. He climbed onto the examination table, feeling exposed under the bright lights. As the examination began, he couldn't shake the feeling of being scrutinized, not just by Zara but by the entire staff. Relax, Earthman, Zara said, her voice firm but not unkind. This is a routine procedure. As the medical devices whirred to life, Sean felt a strange mix of vulnerability and defiance. He had crash-landed on an alien planet and was now being examined by a crew that didn't even operate under the same social norms he had grown up with. Tina hovered nearby, her presence a comforting distraction. You're doing great, she whispered, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. As the medical team conducted various scans and tests, Sean couldn't help but wonder what would come next in this bizarre new life. Once the examination concluded, Zara nodded in approval. You'll be cleared for movement within the hour. In the meantime, I expect you to stay in the designated area. Do not attempt to leave the center. Got it, Sean replied, suppressing his frustration. He could feel Zara's authority suffocating him, and he longed to explore this strange new world on his terms. Can I at least see the city while I wait? Zara exchanged a glance with Tina before replying. We'll see. First, you must comply with our protocols. As they left the examination room, Sean felt a wave of anticipation wash over him. Despite the constraints placed upon him, the thrill of adventure still surged within. Tina guided him through the corridors of the headquarters, and Sean took in the sights and sounds of this alien environment. The color and energy were intoxicating, and the more he saw, the more he wanted to know. What else should I expect during my stay? He asked, genuinely curious. Tina grinned. Oh, the best part is yet to come. You're going to experience Nebus culture like no other. Just wait until you see the festivals. And trust me, the food is out of this world. Sean chuckled at her enthusiasm, feeling a little more at ease. I'm looking forward to it. I never thought I'd find myself on an alien planet, let alone in a situation like this. Tina tilted her head, her expression playful. Well, you're here now. Embrace it. Life is too short to be anything but adventurous. Sean found himself smiling at her infectious energy, realizing that maybe he was beginning to enjoy this unexpected twist in his journey. As they continued through the headquarters, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change in ways he couldn't even begin to imagine. Stern-looking guards awaited Sean as he entered the dimly lit room, their expressions unreadable. "About time you arrived, Earthman. We have much to discuss," one of them intoned. The moment the door closed behind him, he felt the weight of their scrutiny. A knot of anxiety twisted in his stomach as he turned to see Captain Zara, her striking blue skin contrasting sharply with her military-style attire, radiating authority, ***. Tina had squeezed Sean's hand reassuringly before stepping out, her bright presence leaving a warmth behind. "I'll be right outside when you're done. Remember, deep breaths," she had whispered, the door sliding shut, isolating him in a stark room with Zara. Sean squared his shoulders, determined to maintain his composure in the face of Zara's intimidating demeanor. "Let's start with the basics," she said, circling him like a predator sizing up its prey. "What exactly were you doing in our star system?" Meeting her gaze steadily, Sean replied, "As I said before, it was an accident. My ship's navigation system malfunctioned during a routine exploration mission." Zara's eyes narrowed, her skepticism palpable. "And we're just supposed to believe that? For all we know, you could be a spy or an advanced scout for an invasion force." The absurdity of the accusation made Sean laugh, the sound echoing in the austere room. An invasion with one malfunctioning ship? That would be a pretty pathetic invasion force. Zara's hand shot out, gripping Sean's chin firmly, her blue eyes piercing into his. "You'd be surprised how much damage one man can do, especially in a society unused to male aggression." Sean's pulse quickened at her touch, a mix of fear and an unfamiliar thrill coursing through him. "I assure you, Captain, I have no hostile intentions. I'm just a lost explorer looking to get back home." Zara released him, a smirk playing at the corners of her lips. "We'll see about that. For now, you'll remain here under observation. Team Tina may have taken a liking to you, but don't think that grants you any special privileges." As if on cue, the door slid open, and Tina bounced in, her energy a stark contrast to the stern atmosphere. "All done with the interrogation? Great. I promised Sean a tour of the city." Zara's eye twitched in annoyance. "This isn't a pleasure cruise, Tina. He's a potential security risk." "Oh, please. Look at that face. Does he look like a hardened criminal to you?" Tina retorted, her tone playful as she gestured toward Sean, who couldn't help but flush under the attention. "Besides, I'll keep a very close eye on him," she added, punctuating her statement with a wink that sent his heart racing. The captain sighed in exasperation, relenting. "Fine, but he's your responsibility. Any trouble, and it's on your head." As they left the headquarters, Sean let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "Is it always like this with new arrivals?" he asked, glancing sideways at Tina. "Zara's just doing her job," Tina replied, linking her arm through his as they walked through the bustling streets. "But don't worry, she'll warm up to you eventually." "They all do." Sean raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "You seem to have a lot of experience with off-worlders." Tina's laughter rang out, drawing appreciative glances from passers-by. "What can I say? I have a weakness for exotic men, and you, my dear Sean, are about as exotic as they come around here." As they strolled through the vibrant city, Sean couldn't help but notice the gazes of the local women, curiosity, amusement, and an unmistakable hunger in their eyes. It was simultaneously flattering and unnerving. "So, tell me more about Earth," Tina prodded as they entered a sleek restaurant, the interior shimmering with otherworldly designs. "I want to hear all about this mysterious world where men think they're in charge." Sean chuckled as he settled into a comfortable booth, the atmosphere warm and inviting. "It's not as bad as you make it sound. We've made a lot of progress toward equality." Tina leaned in, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "But surely you must see how much better our way is. Women are natural leaders, after all." He opened his mouth to argue, but was interrupted by the arrival of their server, a timid-looking male who kept his eyes downcast. "See." Tina gestured. Isn't he adorable? So eager to please. As the evening wore on, Sean found himself both fascinated and conflicted by Nebus society. The technology was incredible, the food exotic and delicious, but the gender dynamics left him feeling off balance. Tina proved to be a wealth of information, peppering him with questions about Earth while regaling him with tales of Nebus culture. Despite his initial reservations, Sean found himself warming to her infectious personality. After a few glasses of potent nean wine, they stumbled back to the visitor center, both slightly tipsy. "I had a wonderful time tonight," Tina purred, pressing herself against Sean's side, her breath hot against his ear. "I hope this is just the beginning of our cultural exchange." Sean's heart raced as they reached their neighboring rooms. "Tina, this is all moving very fast. On Earth, we usually take things slower." Tina's low, sultry laugh sent shivers down his spine. "Oh, Sean, you have so much to learn about how we do things here. But don't worry, I'm an excellent teacher." Before Sean could respond, she pressed a quick kiss to his cheek and disappeared into her room, leaving him flustered and confused in the hallway. As he entered his own room, his head spun from the events of the day. He caught sight of his reflection in the window and barely recognized the man staring back at him, disheveled, wide-eyed, and unmistakably out of his depth. "What have I gotten myself into?" he muttered, collapsing onto the bed. Just then, a chime sounded, and a holographic message appeared. "Mandatory orientation for all new arrivals tomorrow at 0800. Attendance is required." Captain Zara. Lying on the bed and staring at the ceiling, Sean's thoughts wandered back to his earlier encounter with Tina. He replayed her sultry laugh, the way she had pressed against him, and those parting words that stirred something deep within him. "Why did I brush her off?" he thought, almost chastising himself. Tina was undeniably beautiful, with her blue skin glowing under the soft lighting, her figure perfectly proportioned. Those eyes seemed to pierce straight through him, making him feel exposed yet exhilarated. "What am I doing?" he groaned inwardly. Shifting uncomfortably in bed, his thoughts consumed by the vivid image of Tina's inviting smile and the teasing tone in her voice, he recalled how close they had been, her smooth skin warm against his. She had made it clear she was interested, and yet here he was, alone in his room after rejecting her advances. Why did I say no? Determined to shake off his confusion, Sean decided he needed some fresh air. He got up, threw on a light jacket, and quietly slipped out of his room. The city outside was a glittering maze of lights, towering crystal buildings, and the soft hum of distant vehicles. He wandered aimlessly, trying to clear his mind, but the lingering images of Tina refused to leave him. As he walked along the quiet street, lost in thought, the sound of a sleek vehicle pulling up beside him snapped him out of his daze. Sean glanced over, and his breath caught in his throat. The car was a gleaming, hovering vehicle, sleek and iridescent like everything else on this planet, but it wasn't the car that made his heart race. It was the two women inside. They were both incredibly beautiful, even more so than Tina, if that were possible. Their skin was a darker, richer shade of blue, glowing slightly under the neon lights. They were dressed in tight, revealing outfits that left little to the imagination. Their long legs were exposed beneath the shortest miniskirts he had ever seen, and their bodies moved sensuously as they leaned out of the car's open window. "Hey there, Earthman," one of them purred, her voice sultry and dripping with flirtation as she gave him a slow, appraising look. Her lips curled into a smile that made Sean's heart race. "Out here all alone." Feeling a flush of heat rise in his cheeks, he cleared his throat, struggling to find his voice. Yeah, just getting some fresh air." "Why don't you come join us?" the second woman chimed in, her tone playful as she beckoned him with a finger. "We could show you a good time." Sean hesitated, caught off guard by the sudden attention. The notion of getting into a car with two striking women was tempting, but the cautionary words of Captain Zara echoed in his mind. He glanced around, noting the stares from passers-by, a mixture of curiosity and amusement. This attention was a stark contrast to how he felt on Earth, where he was used to being the one pursuing. "I should really get back," he stammered, feeling both flattered and intimidated by their boldness. "Suit yourself," the first woman said with a teasing pout, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "But you're missing out." As they laughed and drove off, Sean felt a rush of conflicting emotions, excitement, fear, and a hint of regret. He resumed his aimless walk, replaying the encounter in his mind. What was it about this place that made everything feel so electrifying? Each step led him deeper into the heart of the Nebus city, where the lights danced and the atmosphere pulsed with an energy he had never experienced before. He wanted to understand it all: the culture, the people, and especially the magnetic allure of women like Tina and her friends. The thrill of the unknown ignited something within him, a desire to explore not just the city but the connections he could make here. As he walked, he contemplated the whirlwind of feelings swirling in his chest, the pull between adventure and caution. He was in a world far different from his own, where the rules of engagement seemed to shift with every interaction. Sean's mind raced with possibilities, and for the first time since crashing on this alien planet, he felt a sense of liberation. Perhaps he could embrace this experience, let go of the constraints of his past, and discover what it truly meant to be alive in a universe filled with wonders. With a newfound determination, he decided he would attend the orientation tomorrow, but he would also seek out Tina again. He owed it to himself to explore the chemistry that had sparked between them, to step beyond his comfort zone and dive into the vibrant life of Nebus. As he turned to head back to the visitor center, his heart lightened with the thrill of adventure that awaited him. Tomorrow would be a new day, full of possibilities, and he was ready to seize every moment. Maybe it was time to rewrite his own narrative, to take charge of his journey and see where it led him. Airborne, the second woman, her eyes sparkling with mischief, tilted her head and winked. "Looks like you could use some company." Sean's heart thudded in his chest as both women stepped out of the car, their hips swaying seductively as they approached. They moved with a confident, predatory grace, and Sean found himself frozen in place. He wasn't about to resist, not this time. The first woman, with deep violet hair cascading down her back, ran a finger along his chest. Her touch sent a shiver down his spine. "We were looking for a bit of fun tonight. Maybe you'd like to join us." The second woman, her skirt riding up as she leaned against the car, gave Sean a knowing smile. "You've had a rough day, haven't you? We can help you relax." Sean's mind raced. He had no idea who these women were, but he wasn't about to pass up the opportunity. This was a new world, a new experience, and perhaps he had been too cautious earlier. He nodded, unable to form words as his body seemed to move on its own accord. The women giggled and took him by the hand, leading him into their car. The interior was plush and luxurious, and before he knew it, they were speeding through the neon-lit streets toward an upscale hotel on the far side of the city. The hotel room was as extravagant as everything else on this planet. Shimmering walls reflected the soft glow of the lights, and the bed was large and inviting, draped in luxurious fabrics. They wasted no time. The women were on him before he could even catch his breath, their lips meeting his, their hands roaming his body as they pushed him down onto the bed. Sean's mind was a blur as their clothes quickly disappeared, and they moved against him in a way that left him breathless. Every sensation was heightened, every touch, every kiss. Their bodies were soft and warm, their skin smooth beneath his fingertips. Laughter filled the room, light and teasing, as they tangled together in a passionate dance that felt both exhilarating and surreal, thanks to these alien goddesses. After a night filled with passion, they still gave him a lift to his temporary lodging, where he peacefully drifted into a deep sleep. The harsh buzz of the alarm jolted Sean awake. He groaned, rubbing his eyes as the events of the previous day came flooding back. This wasn't some bizarre dream. He really was stranded on an alien planet where women ruled, and men, well, he wasn't quite sure what men did here yet. "Rise and shine, Earthman." Tina's cheerful voice rang out as she burst into his room without warning. "Time for your orientation." Sean yelped, clutching the sheets to his chest. "Tina, don't you knock." She cocked her head, genuinely puzzled. "Why would I? I'm your assigned liaison. That means I have full access to you at all times." Sean's cheeks burned as he realized the implications of her words. "That's not how things work where I'm from." Tina's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Well, you're not on Earth anymore, are you? Now hurry up and get dressed. Captain Zara doesn't like to be kept waiting." As Sean scrambled to make himself presentable, he couldn't help but notice how Tina's gaze lingered on his body. It was both flattering and deeply unsettling. The orientation turned out to be a crash course in Nebus culture, with a particular emphasis on gender roles. Sean watched in fascination and growing discomfort as holograms demonstrated proper etiquette. "As you can see," the AI instructor droned, "men are to remain demure and deferential at all times. Your role is to support and nurture while women handle the important decision-making and labor. Sean's jaw clenched as he watched a holographic man simper and bat his eyelashes at his female counterpart. "This can't be real," he muttered. Tina nudged him playfully. "Oh, it's very real, and trust me, you'll learn to love it. Most off-worlders do eventually." As the days passed, Sean found himself increasingly torn between his earth-ingrained ideas of masculinity and the expectations of Nebus society. He watched in amazement as local men wilted at the slightest exertion, requiring constant pampering and attention from their female partners. "I don't get it," Sean confided in Tina one evening as they strolled through a lush garden. "How do you get anything done if half the population is so fragile?" Tina laughed, a sound that never failed to send shivers down Sean's spine. "Oh, honey, that's why we're in charge. Can you imagine leaving important decisions to creatures who can barely lift a hydro-spanner without breaking a sweat?" Sean bristled at her condescending tone. "Where I'm from, men are just as capable as women, more so in some areas." Tina's eyes gleamed with interest. "Is that so? Care to prove it?" Before Sean could respond, they were interrupted by a statuesque woman in an ornate uniform. "Tina, darling, is this the Earth specimen everyone's been talking about?" Tina straightened her demeanor, shifting to one of deference. "Madam Counselor, yes, this is Sean. Sean, may I present Counselor Lyra, one of our most esteemed political leaders." Lyra circled Sean like a predator eyeing its prey. My, they certainly grow them differently on Earth, don't they? So robust." Sean felt like a piece of meat at an auction. "It's an honor to meet you, Counselor," he managed, trying to maintain his dignity. Lyra's hand shot out, gripping Sean's bicep with surprising strength. "The honor is all mine. Tell me, Sean, have you experienced our famous lunar gardens yet? They're simply divine in the evening." Before Sean could process what was happening, he found himself agreeing to a tour with the counselor. Tina's expression was unreadable as Lyra led him away, her hand possessively placed on the small of his back. The tour turned out to be a thinly veiled seduction attempt. Sean spent the evening dodging Lyra's increasingly bold advances, all while trying not to cause a diplomatic incident. "I don't understand," Lyra pouted as Sean gently removed her hand from his thigh for the 10th time. "Are Earth men not interested in powerful women?" He sighed, searching for a diplomatic response. "It's not that, Counselor. It's just that where I'm from, we usually get to know someone before, getting physical." Lyra's eyes widened in genuine surprise. "How terribly inefficient. No wonder your planet hasn't achieved interstellar travel yet." When Sean finally escaped back to his quarters, he found Tina waiting for him. Her expression was a mix of amusement and something else he couldn't quite identify. "Enjoy your date?" she asked, her tone deceptively light. Sean collapsed onto the bed, exhausted. "That wasn't a date. That was an ambush." Tina laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome to Nebus, honey. Better get used to it. You're quite the hot commodity around here." As the days turned into weeks, Sean found himself slowly adapting to life on Nebus. He still bristled at some of the more extreme gender role reversals, but he had to admit there was a certain freedom in not having to live up to Earth's macho stereotypes. Tina proved to be an invaluable guide, helping Sean navigate the complex social dynamics of their world. She taught him the intricate rituals of male etiquette, how to accept compliments without appearing arrogant, and the importance of showing appreciation for women's leadership. During one of their lessons, Sean found himself incredulous. "Tina, how can you genuinely believe that all this is normal? It feels so backwards to me." Tina shrugged, her expression a mix of amusement and pride. "You're just not used to it yet. You'll learn to see the benefits soon enough." One evening, they sat on the terrace of a high-rise building overlooking the city, the vibrant lights sparkling below them. Sean had started to feel a sense of belonging in this strange new world, but the underlying tension of being a man in a female-dominated society nagged at him. "Tina," he began hesitantly, "how do you truly feel about the way things are? I mean, doesn't it bother you that men are treated so differently here?" She looked thoughtful, her gaze distant as she considered his question. "Honestly, Sean, it's a complicated issue. I appreciate the balance of power we have here. Women work hard to maintain the society, and we deserve to be in charge. But I also see that not all men are weak, and there are some who can contribute significantly." Sean nodded, contemplating her words. "I guess I can see that. There's something to be said about everyone knowing their role." "Exactly," Tina replied, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "And you're fitting in better than you realize. You have a unique perspective that we value. You could help bridge the gap between our worlds." As the weeks continued, Sean grew more comfortable with the customs and expectations of Nebus. He began to engage in conversations about interstellar travel, technology, and diplomacy with the local leaders, including Counselor. Sean found himself in a whirlwind of unfamiliar customs and expectations as he navigated life on Nebus. One particularly peculiar aspect involved learning how to graciously accept compliments and the proper way to serve refreshments to female guests. He was also instructed on the subtle art of makeup application, which was considered essential for men in formal settings. As he stood before the mirror, he couldn't help but grumble, "I feel ridiculous," as Tina delicately applied a shimmering powder to his cheekbones. "Nonsense," she replied, her face close enough that Sean could count the flecks of silver in her blue eyes. "You look absolutely edible." Her words sent a delightful shiver down Sean's spine, a mixture of embarrassment and exhilaration at the compliment. Their relationship had deepened, evolving into something that defied easy categorization. Tina was his mentor, friend, and something more, all rolled into one intoxicating blue package. Sean found himself increasingly drawn to her quick wit and infectious laugh, even as he struggled with the unfamiliar dynamics of their interactions. One evening, after a particularly grueling day of cultural immersion exercises, Sean decided to unwind with a hot shower. He was so lost in thought, replaying the day's events in his mind, that he didn't hear the door to his quarters open. "Sean!" Tina's voice called out. "Are you decent? I brought those language modules you asked for." The bathroom door slid open, revealing Sean in all his glory, the warm water cascading down his body. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Tina's eyes widened, taking in every inch of Sean's muscular form, while he froze in shock, water dripping down his skin. He stammered, a deep indigo blush spreading across Tina's cheeks. "Tina, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you come in." Tina turned back, her eyes still wide. "No, I'm the one who should apologize. I should have announced myself more clearly." An awkward silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken tension. Finally, Sean broke it with a nervous chuckle. "Well, I guess we're even now. You've seen me at my most vulnerable." Tina's lips curved into a smile, but her eyes remained intense. "Oh, Sean, you have no idea what vulnerability really means on Nebus." This incident marked a turning point in their relationship. The playful flirtation that had characterized their interactions took on a new, electric quality. Sean found himself hyper-aware of Tina's presence, his body responding in ways that both excited and terrified him. As he became more comfortable in his new environment, he began to notice subtle shifts in his own behavior. He found himself enjoying the attention he received from Nebus women, reveling in the freedom to express his emotions without fear of judgment. One evening, as he and Tina shared a meal on her balcony overlooking the glittering cityscape, Sean had a realization. "You know," he said, swirling the luminescent liquid in his glass, "I think I'm starting to understand the appeal of this place." Tina raised an eyebrow. "Oh, do tell." Sean leaned back, considering his words carefully. "On Earth, there's so much pressure to be, well, manly, strong, stoic, always in control. Here, I can just be me. It's liberating." Tina's expression softened. "That's what I've been trying to tell you, Sean. Our way isn't about oppression or role reversal. It's about allowing everyone to be their authentic selves." As they talked late into the night, Sean felt a warmth spreading through his chest that had nothing to do with the alien wine. He was falling for Tina, hard and fast. But their budding romance wasn't without its challenges. Tina struggled with the expectations placed on her as a high-ranking liaison. Her superiors pressured her to maintain a professional distance from Sean, warning her about the dangers of getting too attached to an off-worlder. For his part, Sean grappled with his ingrained notions of how relationships should work. He found himself wanting to take charge, to protect Tina, even as he recognized the absurdity of such impulses in this matriarchal society. Their conflicts came to a head during a formal diplomatic function, where Sean, resplendent in the flowing robes of a Nebus consort, watched as Tina deftly navigated the complex political landscape. He felt a surge of pride tinged with an unfamiliar pang of inadequacy. As the evening wore on, Sean found himself cornered by a group of aggressive female diplomats. Their intentions were all too clear, and he searched the crowd for Tina, a lifeline in this sea of blue-skinned predators. When she spotted him, her eyes narrowed as she took in the situation. With a few quick strides, she was at his side, her arms sliding possessively around his waist. "Ladies," she purred, her voice dripping with barely concealed venom, "I see you've met my Sean. Isn't he simply divine?" The diplomats backed off, recognizing the claim for what it was. Sean felt a confusing mix of relief and indignation. Part of him was grateful for the rescue, while another part bristled at being treated like property. Later that night, as they stumbled back to Sean's quarters, the tension between them finally boiled over. "You didn't have to do that," Sean snapped, pacing the room. "I could have handled it myself." Tina's eyes flashed dangerously. "Oh really? And how exactly were you planning to fend off 5 hormonal Nebus women without causing a diplomatic incident?" Sean ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "That's not the point. I'm not some damsel in distress, Tina. I don't need you to swoop in and save me every time things get uncomfortable." Tina's laugh was bitter. "Wake up, Sean. This isn't Earth. Here, you can't just flex your muscles and expect everyone to back off. Like it or not, you need protection." They glared at each other, chests heaving with emotion. The air between them crackled with tension, equal parts anger and something far more primal. Just as it seemed they might come to blows, or something else entirely, a chime sounded from Sean's communicator. His heart dropped as he recognized the frequency. "It's from Earth," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They found a way to bring me home." The anger drained from Tina's face, replaced by a look of raw vulnerability that made Sean's chest ache. "Are you going to go?" she asked, her voice small. Sean stared at the blinking communicator, his mind reeling. He had a choice to make: return to the familiar comfort of Earth or stay and explore this new world and the connection he'd forged with Tina. As he looked into her eyes, seeing the fear and hope warring there, Sean realized that his decision would shape not just his future, but the future of 2 worlds. The tension between Sean and Tina, which had been building for weeks, finally reached a breaking point. They stood there, inches apart, the weight of their unspoken desire pressing down on them like a force of gravity. Sean's pulse quickened, his body reacting instinctively to the way Tina's breath hitched, and her blue skin shimmered faintly under the dim light. Without another word, they collided. Their lips met in a frenzy, hands grasping and pulling as both of them fought for control. Sean pushed her back against the wall, but Tina, with surprising strength, twisted them around, pinning him against the smooth surface. Their bodies moved together in a wild, chaotic dance, a mix of frustration and longing that spilled over into raw passion. Tina's hands explored his body, her touch igniting flames of desire that spread through him. Sean's fingers tangled in her hair, deepening their kiss as he lost himself in the intoxicating sensation of her warmth against him. Every kiss, every touch was electric, sending shivers down his spine as he pulled her closer, the urgency of their connection palpable. "You're not just going to leave me, are you?" Tina murmured against his lips, her voice a mix of fear and desperation. Sean paused, his heart racing. "I don't know what to do," he admitted, his voice husky. "But I don't want to lose us." With a sigh that seemed to echo his own turmoil, Tina leaned back, her gaze searching his. "You need to make a choice, Sean. Staying here means embracing everything this world offers, including me." "But what about my life on Earth?" he asked, feeling the weight of the decision bearing down on him. "What about everything I've ever known?" Tina's expression softened, her fingers gently tracing his jawline. "You have the chance to create something new here, something beautiful. Don't you want to explore that?" Sean felt the pull of her words, a deep yearning to step into this uncharted territory with her. Yet, doubt lingered. "What if I can't handle it? What if I'm just a curiosity to you and your people?" Tina stepped back, her eyes fierce with determination. "You are more than a curiosity to me, Sean. You're a bridge between our worlds. Together, we can redefine what it means to connect, to understand." Their hearts raced in unison, the air thick with unspoken possibilities. Sean could feel the gravity of her words drawing him in, urging him to take the leap. Tina's touch was firm and confident, but as they danced between passion and playfulness, there was something new in the way she gripped him, an unfamiliar tension that suggested she wasn't used to being challenged this way. Sean felt it too. Every time he thought he was gaining the upper hand, she countered with a deftness that caught him off guard. Her body became a blur of strength and desire, pushing him into a whirlwind of emotions as they stumbled toward the bed, their movements hungry and primal, neither willing to back down. As they finally came together, a different rhythm took over. It was raw and passionate, but also tender. The struggle for dominance melted away, replaced by a mutual surrender to the heat between them. The world around them faded, and all that existed was the electric connection that crackled in the air. After what felt like an eternity, they collapsed next to each other, breathless and exhilarated. Sean glanced at Tina, expecting to see the same smug confidence she always carried, but instead, she looked shocked. Her wide eyes stared up at the ceiling, her chest rising and falling as if she were trying to make sense of what had just transpired. "For you, this was different?" Sean asked, still catching his breath, his voice low and rough. Tina turned to him, her usual control completely shattered. Her expression was a mix of awe and disbelief. "I've never felt anything like that," she whispered, almost to herself. "Not like this. Not with anyone." For a moment, they simply lay there, basking in the afterglow of something far beyond a mere physical connection. They had crossed a line, broken the rules of their worlds, but neither of them regretted it. The intensity of their union left both of them in a state of shock, yet strangely blissful. Still stunned, Tina finally looked at Sean, her lips curling into a slow smile. "I didn't expect you to challenge me like that, but I'm glad you did." Sean smirked, feeling the same electrifying mixture of satisfaction and disbelief wash over him. "Neither did I, but I'd do it all over again." As the morning light filtered through the iridescent curtains, casting a soft glow on Sean's face, he stirred from his slumber. He blinked, momentarily disoriented, before the events of the previous night came rushing back. A smile tugged at his lips as he felt the warm, blue-skinned body pressed against his side. Tina murmured in her sleep, nuzzling closer, and Sean marveled at how right it felt, how perfectly they fit together despite their differences. In that moment, he knew he'd made the right choice. "Good morning, beautiful," he whispered, running his fingers through her shimmering hair. Tina's eyes fluttered open, and a mischievous grin spread across her face. "Good morning, indeed. I was worried I dreamed it all." Sean chuckled, pulling her closer. "Definitely not a dream, though I'm still not entirely convinced this whole planet isn't some elaborate hallucination." Tina propped herself up on one elbow, her expression growing serious. "Sean, about the message from Earth." He pressed a finger to her lips, silencing her. "I've made my decision, Tina. I'm staying. It's more important than anything waiting for me back home." The joy that lit up Tina's face was almost blinding. She launched herself at Sean, peppering his face with kisses. "Oh, you wonderful, infuriating Earthman. Do you have any idea how happy you've made me?" As they lay tangled together, basking in the afterglow of their newfound commitment, Sean's mind began to race with possibilities. "You know," he mused, "I've been thinking about how I can contribute here on Nebus." Tina raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, do tell." Sean sat up, excitement building as he articulated the idea that had been forming in his mind. "What if we created a school? Not just for cultural exchange, but a place where Nebus and Earthmen could learn some of the skills and traits that are valued on Earth." Tina's brow furrowed. "You mean like how to be more assertive?" Sean nodded eagerly. "Exactly. Not to change who they are fundamentally, but to give them tools to be more well-rounded. And in return, I could learn more about the Nebus approach to masculinity. It could be a true cultural exchange." As Sean outlined his vision, Tina's eyes began to sparkle with enthusiasm. "Sean, that's brilliant. Can you imagine the impact this could have on our society? And the diplomatic implications?" They spent the rest of the morning brainstorming, their excitement feeding off each other. By the time they finally emerged from Sean's quarters, they had the beginnings of a solid proposal. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of meetings, presentations, and negotiations. Sean found himself thrust into the unfamiliar world of Nebus politics, with Tina as his steadfast guide and partner. Captain Zara, initially skeptical, became one of their strongest advocates. "I must admit," she said during a crucial meeting with the Planetary Council, "the Earthman has impressed me. This initiative could revolutionize our approach to interstellar relations. However, Not everyone was as enthusiastic. A vocal minority led by Councillor Lyra opposed the idea vehemently. "We cannot allow our men to be corrupted by these primitive Earth notions," she argued. "Next thing you know, they'll be wanting to vote." The debate raged on, but Sean and Tina refused to be deterred. They worked tirelessly, refining their proposal and building a coalition of supporters. Finally, after weeks of deliberation, the council reached a decision. The project was approved, with some conditions. Sean and Tina would be given a trial period to prove the concept's viability. As they left the council chambers, exhausted but elated, Sean pulled Tina into a fierce embrace. "We did it," he murmured into her hair. "I couldn't have done this without you." Tina laughed, a sound of pure joy. "Oh, Sean, we're just getting started." The next few months were a blur of activity as they worked to bring their vision to life. They secured a location, a sprawling complex on the outskirts of the capital city, and began recruiting staff and students. Sean threw himself into developing the curriculum, drawing on his Earth experiences while adapting them to Nebus sensibilities. Tina's diplomatic skills proved invaluable as they navigated the complex web of social and political expectations. The day of the school's grand opening dawned bright and clear. Sean stood before the mirror, adjusting the formal Nebus robes that still felt slightly foreign on his frame. Just then, Tina appeared behind him, resplendent in her official uniform, ready to change the world. "Are you ready?" she asked, a hint of nerves in her voice. Sean turned, taking her hands in his. "As long as I'm changing it with you." The ceremony was a spectacle unlike anything Sean had ever experienced. Dignitaries from across Nebus and beyond gathered to witness the inauguration of the Institute for Intergalactic Masculinity Studies, a name that still made Sean chuckle. As he took the podium to deliver his opening speech, he felt a moment of panic. But then he caught Tina's eye in the crowd, saw her encouraging smile, and found his voice. "People of Nebus, honored guests," he began, his voice strong and clear. "Today we embark on a journey of understanding, a journey that will bridge the gap between our worlds and redefine what it means to be a man in this vast universe." As he spoke, Sean saw the faces in the crowd transform. Skepticism gave way to curiosity, and then to genuine enthusiasm. By the time he concluded, the applause was thunderous, reverberating off the walls and echoing into the streets beyond. In the weeks that followed, Sean and Tina worked closely with their staff, refining the curriculum and engaging students in discussions that challenged traditional notions of masculinity. The program quickly gained traction, attracting participants eager to learn and share their experiences. Each session became a melting pot of ideas, a vibrant exchange that sparked curiosity and inspired growth. Sean found himself thriving in this new role, guiding students through discussions on emotional intelligence, assertiveness, and the importance of vulnerability. He was often amazed at the insights shared by Nebus men who, despite their cultural differences, shared similar struggles and desires for self-improvement. Tina continued to serve as his unwavering support, balancing her diplomatic duties while actively participating in the program. Together, they crafted a curriculum that honored the essence of both Nebus and Earth cultures. They encouraged open dialogue, creating an environment where participants could express themselves without judgment. The success of the program quickly caught the attention of other planets. Delegates from neighboring worlds sought to understand what made this initiative so effective. Sean and Tina soon found themselves hosting a series of intergalactic conferences, sharing their insights and experiences with leaders eager to implement similar programs on their own planets. As the Institute flourished, so did Sean and Tina's relationship. They became inseparable, each sharing in the joys and challenges of their work. Sean marveled at the way Tina navigated the intricate world of interstellar diplomacy, her sharp mind and quick wit making her a formidable presence in every room. In turn, Tina admired Sean's ability to connect with people from all walks of life, his natural charisma and authenticity breaking down barriers and fostering understanding. The following months were challenging but deeply rewarding. Sean watched with pride as his Nebus students blossomed, finding a balance between their innate gentleness and newfound assertiveness. One particularly memorable day, he overheard two of his students, Zill and CX, engaged in a heated debate about resource allocation in their community. "Have you considered the long-term environmental impact of that proposal?" CX argued, his voice firm but respectful. Sean couldn't help but grin. Just a few months ago, these same men would have wilted at the mere thought of confrontation. Now, they were engaging in substantive policy discussions that reflected their growth. Tina, too, found herself transformed by the experience. She embraced elements of Earth culture, integrating them into her own unique style of leadership. Together, she and Sean became something of a power couple, their relationship a living example of the harmony they sought to create. As their first year drew to a close, Sean and Tina faced their final evaluation from the Planetary Council. The tension was palpable as they entered the chambers hand in hand. Counselor Lyra, still their most vocal critic, spoke first. "I must admit," she said, her tone grudging, "the results have been unexpected. Our men have shown remarkable growth without losing the qualities we value." Captain Zara's report was more enthusiastic. "The Institute has exceeded all expectations. Not only have we seen positive changes in our male population, but our diplomatic relations with other worlds have improved dramatically." As the council deliberated, Sean and Tina waited with bated breath. Finally, the High Counselor delivered their verdict. "The Institute for Intergalactic Masculinity Studies is hereby granted permanent status," she announced. "Furthermore, we propose expanding the program to include an exchange initiative with Earth." The chamber erupted in cheers. Sean turned to Tina, his heart swelling with emotion. "We did it," he whispered. "We really did it." Tina's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "No, my love, you did it. You changed our world for the better." As they left the council chambers, basking in their triumph, Tina suddenly stumbled, her face paling. Sean caught her, concern etching his features. "Tina, what's wrong?" he asked, steadying her against the wall. She blinked rapidly, shaking her head. "I'm not sure. I just felt dizzy all of a sudden." Sean's brow furrowed. "Maybe we should get you checked out. You've been working so hard lately." Hours later, they sat in a pristine medical bay, still reeling from the news. Dr. Vex, a no-nonsense woman with piercing eyes, delivered her diagnosis with clinical precision. "Congratulations, liaison," she said, a rare smile tugging at her lips. "You're pregnant." Tina's jaw dropped. "I'm what? But how?" "We're different species." Dr. Vex chuckled. "Nebus biology is remarkably adaptable. It seems your union with the Earthman has resulted in a rather unique situation." As the implications sank in, Tina turned to Sean, who sat frozen in shock. "Sean, are you okay with this?" she asked hesitantly. Sean's face broke into a wide grin. He gathered Tina in his arms, laughing through happy tears. "Okay with it. Tina, this is incredible. Our own little miracle." In the years that followed, Sean and Tina's lives became a whirlwind of professional triumphs and personal joys. The Institute flourished, becoming a beacon of intergalactic cooperation and understanding. Their family grew, much to their delight and occasional bewilderment. Tina's first pregnancy was followed by 3 more over the next 6 years, each child a perfect blend of their Earth and Nebus heritage. On the eve of their 6th anniversary, Sean stood on the balcony of their home, watching the twin moons of Nebus rise over the horizon. Tina joined him, their youngest child cradled in her arms. "Penny for your thoughts, Earthman," she teased, using the nickname that had become a term of endearment. "Not a single one," Sean replied, his voice firm. "This life, this family we've built, it's more than I ever dreamed possible." As if on cue, the sound of small feet pattering across the floor reached their ears. Their older children burst onto the balcony, a whirlwind of blue skin and earth-toned eyes. "Papa! Mama!" they cried in unison. "Tell us the story of how you met again." Sean and Tina exchanged a look, barely suppressing their laughter. It was a nightly ritual at this point, one they never tired of. "Well," Sean began, gathering the children close, "it all started when a handsome Earth explorer crash-landed on a strange blue planet." As he spun the tale, embellishing here and there to the children's delight, Sean marveled at the twists and turns his life had taken. From lost astronaut to cultural ambassador, from fish out of water to beloved husband and father, he had come so far. He caught Tina's eye over the children's heads and saw the love and mischief dancing there, feeling a familiar flutter in his chest. Their journey was far from over. Sean knew there would be more challenges, more adventures, and more moments of joy and frustration. But as long as they faced it together, he was confident they could handle anything the universe threw their way. After all, they had already rewritten the rules of an entire planet. What was a little intergalactic parenting compared to that? As the moons climbed higher in the sky, bathing the family in their soft glow, Sean silently thanked whatever cosmic force had brought him to this strange, wonderful world. He was home in every sense of the word, and he wouldn't have it any other way. Well, dear listeners, you've just witnessed the cosmic waltz of Sean and Tina, a tale that puts a whole new spin on star-crossed lovers. If you're now considering a career in interstellar diplomacy, just remember, your alien girlfriend might be blue, but your kids don't have to be. For all you Earthmen out there feeling inadequate, take heart. Somewhere in the vast cosmos, there's a planet where your dad bod is considered exotic, and your inability to multitask is downright charming. Just be prepared for some role reversals that'll make your head spin faster than a malfunctioning hyperdrive. Ladies, if you thought Earthmen were commitment-phobic, try dating someone who's not even sure if he can biologically father your children. Talk about performance anxiety on a galactic scale. In all seriousness, though, Sean and Tina's adventure reminds us that love, like the universe, is full of beautiful impossibilities. So keep your hearts open and your universal translators charged. You never know when you might crash-land into your own happily ever after, complete with a brood of half-alien rugrats. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to pitch a new reality show, Nebus Nanny 911. When your half-Earth toddler discovers gravity, I have a feeling the ratings will be out of this world.